Hey guys, so today I just wanted to kind of sit down and do my makeup and chat with you guys, and specifically I wanted to play around with makeup from brands that I really want to see still do well and make it through this current crisis that we find ourselves in. I know that for a lot of us, things have really been disrupted in our lives, and I know it's been disrupted in the lives of a lot of these smaller and indie brands as well. And so I thought that I would like to bring a little bit more focus on my channel to brands that I really enjoy, believe in, love wholeheartedly, that are on the smaller side of things. In general, what I thought of was like, what are the brands that I want to see survive this? Like, I want them to come out on the other side of this and be okay. And I kind of got this idea from Kackie Reviews Beauty, and she's been doing this kind of like spotlighting one brand at a time in terms of like brands she really wants to support and wants to see them thrive or make it through this current pandemic in an okay place, not at the end of this, you know, being bankrupt, etc. And so, and it was kind of her idea to kind of shine the light, what as small as it is, on those brands. And I kind of liked the idea, and I thought I would do the same here. It would also give me a chance to play around and demo some makeup that's a little bit newer to my collection. I did get the Ofra Samantha March collaboration sent to me in PR from Ofra, and so I do have those products. We're going to play with all of those, but then I also have some products here from Flower Beauty, from Kosas, from Pacifica, from Sydney Grace, from Causemetics. So this is just me trying to pull together a full face of makeup from brands that I, like I said, want to see be okay on the other side of this. For primer, I'm going to use one from Flower Beauty. This is their In Your Prime Illuminating Primer. I do think the packaging is really pretty. It is kind of your traditional sort of highlighter slash gel moisturizer kind of primer. It definitely makes my skin glowy, and I'm doing this video kind of later in the day, and so my skincare has gone on a while ago, and my skin, because it's not quite dry anymore, like it's gotten warm enough and more humidity's up higher that I don't necessarily feel like my skin is like parched the way that it was in like December and January, but it's still not back to like 100% normal, like on its own. Usually I would say I have normal skin, and as long as I give it light moisturization, it kind of does its thing and just maintains being not super oily or not super dry. And that was definitely not the case this winter. So a little bit of glow and a little hydration seemed to be a good idea. So that was the Flower Primer, and I do really enjoy it. I think it's a really nice glowy primer at the drugstore. And then for my face, I have two foundations, and I think one is too light and one is too dark. So the first is the Flower Beauty Light Illusion Luminous Makeup. I have their newest shade, which was their lightest. It's Shell LQ. I feel like this one is a little light and a little yellow on me, if you can see that there. So I feel like that one is not perfect. And then the other foundation I have is from Pacifica. This is their All Alight Clean Foundation. I have the shade 38 and F. That one's probably a better shade match for me, but it does dry down a little dark on me. So what I've decided to do is actually mix these two together. I've done one pump each, and I think that will be enough. And then to blend it on my face, I'm going to use a brush, and I am typically a beauty blender girl, and I have a beauty blender on standby. One of the AOA Pawpaw sponges that I love so much, but this is from BK Beauty. This is their foundation brush. It's the 101. It's kind of an angled, softer brush. It's got some density to it that makes it good for blending out products, but it's not so dense that I feel like it's giving me that like high full coverage, which I'm not a high full coverage kind of girl. And I have been experimenting with brushes more lately. I feel like I've been a beauty blender girl for so many years, and then I've been watching makeup artists using brushes. Now, they've been using much tinier brushes than this to apply. But I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna give it a whirl. Can always come in over top of something and blend it out with a beauty blender. But I do feel like this brush does make getting foundation blended out very quick. And this is a brand that is owned, BK Beauty stands for Be Kind Beauty, and it is owned by someone here on YouTube, Lisa J. She used to be a trained MAC makeup artist, and she has this whole mission for her brand around kindness and sort of anti-bullying, and I will link all of the web pages for these people below, so you can kind of find not only the products I'm talking about, but kind of some of their mission statements also if you're interested in learning more about the brands. But I went ahead and tried 2 of her brushes, this one here, and then one I'm going to use for foundation next. And I've been so impressed with the really lovely quality and the feel in the hand of these. They're synthetic, but they feel like really high quality brushes. And like I said, I have been enjoying this one. Like, I don't necessarily feel like I still prefer blushes with everything, but if you have some foundations where you don't feel like you struggle with them, I sometimes feel like struggle foundations need a beauty blender in my mind just to kind of not cause them to streak, if that makes sense. A lot of foundations I find to just be very streaky with brushes. If you've got a foundation that is not particularly streaky, then I've found brushes to work really well, and this one is just, like I said, it's helping to blend in my foundation really easily. And I do think that those foundations together kind of gave me like a really good shade. It lightened the Pacifica All Light foundation just a little bit. And Pacifica is another brand that really has some nice mission statements in terms of their reason for being, how they give back, the fact that their purpose in life was not just to make beautiful products, but that they actually wanted to be involved around the world in different projects to give back. A lot of, and you'll see that as a trend, I think, in a lot of the products I've picked, a lot of them have built a mission above and beyond just makeup. So that is base down. I have to say my skin looks really glowy and really pretty. I feel like both of those foundations are glowy on their own. I think the Pacifica one might be a little bit more glowy than the Flower one. This reminds me a lot of the L'Oreal Lumi foundation. If you like that foundation but wanted to try something cruelty-free, I definitely would point you in the direction of the Flower Light Illusion. This one's a little bit more glowy still and has more of a serum-like texture. I do really love this foundation quite a bit. So for concealer, I'm going to use the newest concealer from Kosas. I have the shade 01. And then to blend it out, I'm actually going to use a brush called from BK Beauty. This is their 202. Now, technically, this is an eyeshadow brush, and I can definitely see it being awesome for eyeshadow, especially more detailed sort of crease work and blending. But I really like this shape for underneath my eyes because I just feel like I can gently blend out concealer. And so when I've been using a beauty blender, I've been going on right with this on my eyes. When I've been using a brush like this, I've actually been taking the wand and just kind of wiping off whatever's on that wand on the back of my hand. And then I've been picking up a little bit of it on the back of my hand like this, and then kind of starting in the inner corner where I get the most darkness. And then with a very light hand, like there's quite a bit of product on here because this brush has soaked it up because it's pretty fluffy. So I'm kind of just using light strokes to get this laid down and then pulling it down just a little bit onto my cheek. But very light feather-like motions to blend it out underneath my eyes. I'm just gonna put a little bit of that concealer around my nose here where I've got a little bit more redness. Compliments of allergies, and then just add a tiny bit more coverage on that awesome sunspot I'm trying to fade. Now, I will say this Kosas concealer, I'm going to let kind of start to set on its own, but it will crease on me a little bit, but I don't want to powder it right now because it's so very dewy and hydrating, and that sort of dewiness combined with that powder will really cause it to end up being a lot heavier. You're basically putting a dry product into a wet product. And so for me, if I can let that set, even if it's going to crease a little bit, it's going to allow it to kind of set on its own a little bit. I can tap out any creasing with my finger, and then here in a few minutes, I'll be able to set it, and it won't be nearly as tacky, and it won't cause that sort of very makeup-y like effect that I find you get when you are putting powder right onto very wet foundations and concealers. For primer today, I am going to use one from Causemetics. I recently made a fairly big order on Thrive and did kind of a brand review for them. I will link that video down below if you want to know more, but this is their Eye Lift 360. It is a eyeshadow primer that can also be used, and maybe I should have done that today as well, but you can actually use this to prime areas where you're going to put concealer underneath your eyes to help with longevity. And then it also has some peptides in it. I think it's Matrixyl 3000, which is probably one of the most researched anti-aging peptides in it. So I kind of like the idea that my eyeshadow primer, and then if I use this to prime underneath my eyes as well, is kind of giving me that skincare benefit. Thrive Causemetics has been an active force in giving back a huge amount of their profits to community. They've given away millions and millions of dollars to women's shelters and charities, animal shelters and charities. There's a really, really stellar company. And so I definitely wanted to include some of their products today to kind of bring some more attention to some things that I really love. And that primer is definitely one of them. I don't have any brow products that I am like, I'm not super passionate about brow products, but like I don't really feel like I had a brand or branded products in my collection for brows that I was like, yes, must talk about. So I'm going to go quickly do my brows offline just using the e.l.f. brow pencil that I've got going right now, and then my AOA Studio brow gel, and I'll be right back. For eyes today, I wanted to use the Aether Beauty. This is her Rose Quartz Crystal Gemstones palette. This has definitely been a favorite palette of mine lately. I feel like I have been reaching into this like all the time. So I wanted to kind of show you one of my favorite looks from this palette, and it's very, very, very simple. Nothing complex here at all, and primarily using two shades, and then we're going to dip into a third just a little bit. We're going to use two of my favorite Wayne Goss brushes. This is the Wayne Goss number 16. It's nice and fluffy and soft, and I really love this for gently diffusing eyeshadow kind of in my crease and kind of above. And then I love the Wayne Goss number 19 brush. It's a much smaller blending brush, and this is great for kind of still blending but more detailed work out here in this outer corner. And then the two shades I'm going to be using in here are this sort of maroony mauve murky shade, and then I'm actually going to be dipping into this, which looks very blue and scary, but it's kind of an amazing shade on the lid. And I'm just going to pick up just the tiniest amount on this fluffy Wayne Goss brush, the number 16. Tap it off, and then I'm going to start here in the outer corner and make sure I'm putting the bulk of the color here. And then once I feel like I've kind of applied the bulk of that color there and there's not as much left on my brush, with a very light hand and kind of holding my brush towards the end so that it's not quite, it's a little more floppy and a little less intense, I'm just going to start to blend this up and around, because on me, this is definitely a mid-tone shade that actually can be built up deeper. And so this is a shade where if I go in lightly like I am now and start to diffuse it through my crease, then what I can do is then use the same shade but on a denser brush and actually build more depth. And it looks like I will have used multiple shades, and in reality I've used two. So same shade, smaller number 19 brush from Wayne Goss, just gonna pick some up, little tap, and then this is definitely getting built up heavier here in the corner of my eye. And as you can see, when I've done the smaller brush, I'm getting a heck of a lot more depth, and it really looks like I've put something lighter up above and then something deeper in the corner, and it's really just the same shade. So if you're fair like me, I'm just blending this all together, no new product on here. If you're fair like me, this is a great way to leverage some of those mid-tone shades that might feel a little deep to just go straight into the crease with. And then to finish up this eye, I'll do this one here on my own separately. I'm gonna use my finger and I'm gonna pick up a little of this shade here. And this shade is more of a sheer, I would say, sparkly shade. The four in this palette, at least in the middle here, have a really nice micro shimmer to them that does, I find, stick to the eye and not fly around. But it gives you this sort of watercolor effect it's not as though I don't have any pigment on my eyes, but it just looks light and fairy and slightly glossy, and I don't know, I absolutely love that shade. And it is one of those shades that even my husband, who's used to seeing me in like 50 different shades of makeup, commented on how pretty this shade was when I wore it the other day. So I'm just picking up a little bit more of that initial blending shade on the smaller Wayne Goss brush and just kind of building up that corner. All right, before I move to finish the eyes, which is putting some shades underneath into my inner corner, I do want to kind of pat out the creasing that I got underneath my eye. And this has had a chance to set a little bit. And then I'm going to use just the tiniest amount of product from the Kiko Milano Tuscan Sunshine. This is their Perfecting powder. I'm just using a little Wayne Goss. I think this is a holiday brush. It's very light. I'm just going to pick up the tiniest bit of powder, and we're going to use that right underneath my eyes. All right, so to finish up my eyes, I'm going to go back to that first matte shade on a little Wayne Goss number 20 pencil brush. Just run a little bit of this underneath my lash line, just trying to connect up that outer corner underneath my eyes. And then the only other shade I'm going to reach for is actually this really pretty pearl, which I think makes a fantastic inner corner highlight. So I'm just going to pick up a Wayne Goss number 20 brush, a little bit of this, and plop that in my inner corner just very lightly. Now, I've not been doing a ton of liquid liner here, and we are going to potentially botch my entire eye look, but I did want to mention Causemetics in this video because I do really love this brand. They're a small indie brand who is clearly taking time and being very thoughtful about the products they release. I purchased their liner when it first came out. This is their illustrative liner in a brush tip, which is definitely my preferred method. We're going to try and record this, and if it goes awry, well, you guys are my witnesses. So I typically like to start in the middle part of my eye and drag out. My eyes are slightly downturned, and so I kind of like to treat the top part of my eye as kind of a line that I want to continue to where my eye stops. And so I'm not necessarily raising my wing up a ton. I'm kind of almost keeping it straight. And what you'll see is that actually does lift my eye in theory if I do this correctly. So I start in the middle, just do small strokes. And if you can see that there, I've kind of carried it out. So now I've got this gap here. And so I'm just going to take that down and then fill in the rest. And that is my preferred way to do a sort of cat eye liner. It's not super intense. It's not super lifted, but it's helping to lift my eye a little bit. And then I will come in and just add the front part here. And one eye always goes better than the other, so wish me luck. I do think this Cosmetic liner makes it super easy. I've definitely used liquid liners and it's been way more of a struggle bus. It is also a roll of the dice. Today was a good roll of the dice. Maybe it wouldn't have been so great yesterday. For mascara, we're going to go in with the Thrive mascara. This mascara has definitely been growing on me. I definitely think it gives me some of the longest, most beautiful lashes I have ever had. And I am getting used to the tube removing. If you've watched a couple of my videos, I think I've talked about the strange experience of tube mascaras and feeling like I'm not used to my first oil cleanse not getting off my mascara, which is really what was happening. It wasn't coming off until my second cleanse, and so it was kind of throwing me for a loop. And I'm starting to get over it, because I do really like how this mascara makes my lashes look. I think it's really nice. All right, so that's eyes done. I so love this color combo. I've reached for this particular color combo so many days. I've been into cool tones, but there's just something about that lid shade with that matte that is just, it's amazing. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and set my face just a little bit because I feel like it's still tacky enough that I think some of the powder products are going to stick to it in a potentially unflattering way. So I'm just going to use a large Wayne Goss powder brush. This is his 00 brush. And I'm just going to pick up some of this powder and lightly run this across my face. This is a powder that is never going to make me look heavy or cakey, which is one of the reasons I love it. For bronzer today, let's play around with the new one from Samantha, March, and Ofra. This is the River Duo, so you've got a matte side and a shimmer side. I've worn them both on their own. I've not worn them swirled together yet, so I'm just gonna kind of tap my brush on here. I've picked up probably way more product than I need, so I'm gonna tap off a little bit on the towel here in my lap. And then go in. This is my Wayne Goss number 11. I like this one because I can kind of start to place it. It's paddle shaped, so I can start to kind of place things where I want them and then blend them out. Now this bronzer does read a little warm on me the more I've played with it. It's a peachy warmth though, versus like an orangey warmth, if that makes sense. So I don't feel like it is completely unworkable on me, but it is by no means a cool toned bronzer on me. The texture of this is like gorgeous, and I would love to see Ofra take this concept that Samantha kind of developed with them and do this for a whole bunch of different undertones. I'd love to see them do some contour colors in this. Blends like a dream. It's glowy but not too glowy, especially when you're mixing them together. But even this, the matte side on its own but you can see it just blends out very easily. And so even though it's more warm toned than potentially other bronzers in my collection, because its warmth is peachy as opposed to like true orange, I do find that this one is quite wearable for me, and the formula is stunning. And then let's do the Samantha March blush as well. This is the Chicklet Blush Duo. It's got this beautiful matte peach side and then this gorgeous sort of murky pinky mauve neutral shade on this side. I've worn them on their own. I have not worn them together, so that is my intention today. That is such a pretty combo together too. Like that's a great neutral / pinky leaning blush. I love it. I do find that both the blush and the bronzer are quite pigmented. So for someone as fair as I am, I do kind of load up my brush and then tap off some of the excess before going in. They blend out really well, even if you go in a little heavy-handed. They definitely can blend out. But I do think it means that both the bronzer and the blush are gonna work for more undertones than I maybe have first thought. Trying to film and my dog is just barking. So this is her Start Inspired highlighter. I had bought this when this was just the at March Beauty Word highlighter last year. I loved it. It made it into my Best of Beauty. I love the fact that you've got a pink, sort of a warmer gold and a cooler pink highlight. And when you swirl them all together, what you get is this perfect champagne, which is what I am going to put on today. And I tend to go in with a light hand with these because they tend to be quite pigmented. And so I feel like this is a highlighter formula that if you prefer something a little bit more glossy and subtle, you can go in with a light hand. Like I loaded up my brush and did both sides of my cheek with that one brush stroke, for example. And so I get that sort of lit from within pretty glow, but you could also build this up to be something very, very intense without very little effort. And I feel like this formula is just, it's a lovely highlighter formula. I really enjoy it. And this I think is as good a time as any to pause and let you know that since I did get the PR kit from Ofra and I already had the highlighter, I did decide to do just a little mini giveaway using some of the brands that we talked about in this video. So I've got some products from Ofra, some products from Flower Beauty, and then I've also tossed in one of my favorite face masks from Pharmacy. And although I wasn't talking skincare or anything in this video, Pharmacy definitely makes some beautiful products, and they make one of my favorite face masks, their Echinacea Honey Mask. So I want to include one of those for you guys as well. So all you need to enter is be subscribed to my channel and then leave a comment down below letting me know a brand that you really love, that you support, that you would love to see come out on the other side of this whole economic crisis. Absolutely okay. I would love to know some of the brands that you kind of feel connected to and feel like you, I don't know, have skin in the game. Like there's certain brands that I feel like for one reason or another, like I'm more connected to than others, and I just want to see them be okay through this. So I'd love to know who those brands are for you. So I am going to make this an international contest. I have no idea if an international winner wins, if I'm going to have any issues shipping these packages out. I may have to explore that with you. So if there's a situation where a winner wins from a country where I cannot ship this package just due to the coronavirus, etc., you and I will work offline to figure out another solution. But I did want to open this up internationally because I do know some of the people that follow me and have been super supportive from this channel don't necessarily live here in the United States. Hi guys, Editing Sarah here. I just wanted to call up very quickly. You know, if you are at all concerned about taking in packages from someone due to the virus, I completely understand. My commitment to you is that I am going to, you know, wash my hands thoroughly before handling any of these products, and then I'm going to wipe these down. I have some isopropyl alcohol wipes that kill the viruses, and I use those on electronics and things like that to kind of disinfect and stuff. I'm going to wipe down all of the products on the outside before putting them in the box, and then I'm going to throw a couple of these packets actually in the box as well. So feel free when you get this package to wash your own hands and then use some of these packs to sort of disinfect any of the makeup inside. So if this still doesn't make you feel comfortable, I totally understand. We're living in a different world right now, but I wanted to be able to do this giveaway and then do it in a safe way. And I didn't think to go through those details when I was filming earlier. So just wanted to let you guys know that now. Okay, so last couple of products are lip products. I wanted to use my Thrive Causemetics lip filler lip liner, and this is in the shade Kackie. That is to support Kackie Reviews Beauty. This was kind of the shade she worked on with them. It's a really nice nude, so I thought I would kind of line my lips with this, and then we will go in with the two lippies from Samantha March. So here are the two lippies from Samantha March. This is their liquid lipstick formula in the shade Story. I wanted to show you a different way of wearing these lipsticks as well, because I feel like we always see these sort of liquid lipsticks being applied, full opacity, full dry down, matte liquid lip. And these actually work pretty well as a stain with your finger because of their really nice moussey texture. So I'm just gonna take some on the back of my hand. And then I'm gonna take my ring finger and just pick up a little bit here and then just kind of blot it on my lips. And what you end up with is this like really soft, pretty, almost like stained effect. I think the key is really that moussey texture that allows you to kind of do this blurring sort of stained lip look. I think that's one of the reasons this works with the Ofra liquid lipsticks in a way that I just haven't found with others. And then let's go over the top with this Ofra gloss, and this is Millie. And this one I thought was going to be very, very similar to the Diamond Milk from Fenty when I first saw it online. But what this has, although it has pearl pigments in it, it actually has some pigments that read a little holographic and a little bit more intense than Diamond Milk ever did. Diamond Milk was very much just a clear gloss rather, with a little bit of like pearl and silver shimmer running through it. This one definitely has a lot more depth and a lot more sparkle to it and a little bit more of a holographic essence, which I think it makes it a much more interesting gloss. Because I never like to get the doe foots of these clear glosses like mixed up with my liquid lipstick, I'm gonna put some on the back of my hand as well and just pick some up with my finger. And I think because this has a little bit more shimmer particle and it actually is, it's a little more lightening than I ever felt like Diamond Milk was. So I actually decluttered Diamond Milk and I really feel like this is doing something for my lips that Diamond Milk never did from Fenty, and I really love the effect on my lips. Like I think that this sort of blotted out like it did with the gloss over top is like absolutely stunning. So here is the final look, a little more cool tone, which seems to be the vibe I've been going for like all the time lately. But hope you guys enjoyed today's video, kind of playing around with makeup and talking through some brands that I really love and enjoy and I want to see do well in spite of everything that's going on in the world. I hope you and your friends and family are staying safe and you are taking care of not only yourself physically but also mentally. I hope you guys are having a great week. Talk to you soon. Bye.